Have you ever heard of a place where ships and planes vanish without a trace? Welcome to the Bermuda Triangle, one of the most enduring mysteries of our time. For decades, this patch of the Atlantic Ocean, roughly stretching between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico, has captured our imagination with tales of ghost ships, lost flights, and bizarre phenomena. But what's the real story behind this legendary Devil's Triangle? Is it a paranormal vortex, an alien abduction hotspot, or is there a more scientific explanation for these strange events? Today we're diving deep into the heart of the mystery, separating fact from fiction, and exploring the science, the stories, and the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. Get ready, because we're about to embark on a journey into the unknown. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle didn't just appear overnight, it was built upon a series of chilling and perplexing incidents. Let's journey back to some of the most famous cases that cemented its terrifying reputation. Perhaps the most well-known is the disappearance of Flight 19. On December 5th, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a routine training exercise. They were seasoned pilots flying reliable aircraft. But a few hours into their mission, something went terribly wrong. Radio transmissions revealed the flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, was disoriented. His compasses were malfunctioning. He believed they were over the Florida Keys, but they were likely far out over the Atlantic. The last chilling message heard was a plan to ditch all planes together when they ran out of fuel. They were never seen again. In a tragic twist, a Martin Mariner rescue plane sent to find them carrying a crew of 13 also vanished. It's believed the rescue plane exploded mid-air, a known issue with that aircraft model, but for believers in the Triangle's power, it was another victim claimed by the mysterious waters. Then there's the story of the USS Cyclops, a massive US Navy collier ship that vanished in March 1918, carrying over 300 crew members and a heavy load of manganese ore. It was sailing from Barbados to Baltimore. The ship never sent a distress signal, it just disappeared. No wreckage, no lifeboats, no trace of the men aboard was ever found. It remains the single largest loss of life in US naval history not involving combat. Theories range from a surprise German submarine attack, although Germany denied it, to a rogue wave capsizing the giant vessel, or even a mutiny. Without any evidence, the fate of the USS Cyclops became a cornerstone of the Bermuda Triangle legend. And these aren't isolated incidents. The tales go on. The Carroll A, Deering, a 5-masted schooner found wrecked and abandoned in 1921. The Star Tiger and Star Ariel, 2 British airliners that disappeared without a trace in 1948 and 1940. Each story added another layer to the enigma, creating a compelling narrative of a place on Earth where the rules of our world don't seem to apply. These events, shrouded in mystery, are the foundation upon which the entire legend was built. So where did this idea of a specific Bermuda Triangle even come from? The term itself wasn't coined until 1964. An author named Vincent Gaddis wrote an article for a pulp magazine titled The Deadly Bermuda Triangle, where he cataloged many of these mysterious disappearances. He was the one who drew the lines on the map, connecting Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico, and gave the phenomenon a catchy, ominous name. But the person who truly launched the Bermuda Triangle into a global sensation was Charles Berlitz. In 1904, his book, The Bermuda Triangle, became a massive international bestseller. Berlitz wasn't a scientist or a historian. He was a language expert and a storyteller. He took the existing stories, embellished them with dramatic flair, and proposed a range of spectacular paranormal explanations. He wrote about UFOs abducting crews, portals to other dimensions, strange magnetic fields pulling planes from the sky, and even lost technology from the mythical city of Atlantis. His book was incredibly compelling and captured the public's imagination. Suddenly, everyone was talking about the Devil's Triangle. It became the subject of movies, documentaries, and countless late-night debates. Berlitz's storytelling was so effective that many of his dramatic additions and speculative theories are still repeated as fact today. The legend born from real tragedies was now a full-blown pop culture phenomenon, a perfect storm of mystery, speculation, and sensationalism. With all this talk of aliens, time warps, and lost cities, it's easy to get swept up in the mystery. But what does science have to say about all this? When we peel back the layers of legend, we find that scientists, oceanographers, and aviation experts have some pretty logical explanations for what might be happening in the Bermuda Triangle. First, let's talk about the weather. This region is known for its incredibly volatile and unpredictable weather. It's the birthplace of powerful hurricanes that can appear with little warning. These storms create colossal waves and ferocious winds that can easily overwhelm even large modern ships and planes. Another major factor is the Gulf Stream, which is essentially a powerful river within the ocean. It flows through the triangle with a surface velocity of up to 6 miles per hour. This current is so strong that if a plane or ship has to ditch, the wreckage can be carried far away from its last known position very quickly, making search and rescue efforts incredibly difficult. If debris scatters and sinks, the Gulf Stream can disperse it over a vast area, making it virtually impossible to find. Then there's the geology of the ocean floor. The Bermuda Triangle contains some of the deepest ocean trenches in the world, like the Puerto Rico Trench, which is over 27,000 feet deep. That's more than 5 miles straight down. Any wreckage that sinks into these trenches would be lost forever, crushed by immense pressure and buried in sediment, far beyond the reach of any recovery technology we have today. One of the more fascinating scientific theories involves something called methane hydrates. These are large deposits of frozen methane gas trapped under the sea floor. Scientists have proposed that if a pocket of this gas were to suddenly destabilize and erupt, it could create a massive plume of gas bubbles. This would drastically reduce the density of the water above it. A ship sailing over this spot would lose its buoyancy in an instant and sink like a stone, leaving very little wreckage on the surface. While a direct link to a specific disappearance hasn't been proven, it remains a plausible scientific explanation for a ship vanishing suddenly and without a trace. These natural forces, when combined, create a perfect recipe for disaster and disappearance. So we have the stories, and we have the scientific theories, but what happens when we put them side by side? This is where the work of investigators and skeptics becomes crucial. One of the most prominent critics of the legend is a researcher named Larry Kusche. In 1975, just after the height of the craze, he published a book called The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved. And Kusche did something no one had done before. He went back to the primary sources. He meticulously reviewed official accident reports, newspaper archives, and weather records for every single case mentioned by Berlitz and others. And what he found was astonishing. Kusche discovered that many of the stories had been heavily exaggerated or were just plain inaccurate. For example, he found that many of the ships and planes reported as disappearing in calm weather had actually sailed directly into major storms or hurricanes. The mystery wasn't so mysterious when you knew a Category 4 hurricane was raging. He also found that many disappearances didn't even happen inside the Bermuda Triangle at all. Authors had simply moved the location of the incident to make it fit their narrative. Furthermore, some of the so-called mystery ships weren't mysteries to anyone but the Triangle authors. In some cases, wreckage was found, and the cause of the sinking was determined, but these facts were conveniently left out of the sensational books. Kusche concluded that there is no single mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. Instead, it's a collection of individual tragedies, each with its own cause, that have been manufactured into a legend through sloppy research, exaggeration, and outright fiction. Even the US Coast Guard and other official bodies have weighed in. They don't recognize the Bermuda Triangle as a specific geographic area of hazard. Their official stance is that in their experience, the number of incidents in this region is not proportionally higher than in any other heavily trafficked part of the ocean. They attribute the losses to a combination of the powerful natural forces we've discussed and, unfortunately, human error. A simple navigational mistake, mechanical failure, or a poor decision in the face of bad weather can have catastrophic consequences in this challenging environment. So when you look at the evidence, the grand paranormal conspiracy begins to fall apart. The legend seems to be more a product of human storytelling and our fascination with the unknown than any supernatural force at work. It's a powerful reminder to always question stories that seem too good, or in this case, too terrifying to be true, and to look for the evidence behind the claims. So after all this, what is the final verdict on the Bermuda Triangle? Is it a place of paranormal danger or just a place on the map? The overwhelming evidence points to the latter. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle appears to be a manufactured mystery, a myth created by writers who connected unrelated tragedies, embellished the details, and ignored scientific explanations. The number of disappearances isn't statistically significant when you consider the sheer volume of air and sea traffic that passes through this busy corridor every single day. The real culprits are not aliens or time warps, but a powerful and predictable combination of factors. Violent, unpredictable weather, the deep and powerful Gulf Stream current, extreme ocean depths, and the potential for geological hazards like methane eruptions. Add in the ever-present possibility of mechanical failure and human error, and you have all the ingredients necessary for vessels to get into trouble and disappear without a trace. The allure of the unknown is powerful, and it's human nature to seek grand explanations for tragic events. The idea of a single mysterious force is somehow more comforting than the random, chaotic nature of accidents. The Bermuda Triangle legend persists because it's a fantastic story. It taps into our deepest fears of the unknown and our fascination with puzzles that can't be solved. But the truth, while less sensational, is just as important. The real story honors the memory of those who were lost by seeking factual explanations rather than weaving their tragedies into a fictional narrative. It reminds us of the power of nature and the importance of respecting the immense and sometimes unforgiving forces of our own planet. The Bermuda Triangle isn't a paranormal vortex, but it is a powerful teacher, showing us the limits of our control over the natural world. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest legends. If you enjoyed this investigation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.